The Edomites indeed have a rich and complex history intertwined with the narratives of the Bible, particularly through their ancestral ties to Esau and their interactions with the Israelites. The biblical accounts portray them as both rivals and occasional allies of Israel, with conflicts often arising over territory and resources. The story of Esau selling his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of stew, as recounted in Genesis, serves as a foundational tale, illustrating themes of familial dynamics, inheritance, and the consequences of impulsive decisions. This narrative laid the groundwork for the historical tensions and military conflicts between the descendants of Esau, the Edomites, and Jacob, the Israelites, throughout subsequent biblical texts. The Edomites were a Semitic people who lived in the region south of the Dead Sea, known as Edom, which corresponds to modern-day southern Jordan and parts of Israel. The Edomites' origins are indeed rooted in the biblical narrative surrounding Esau, the elder twin brother of Jacob, who was later named Israel. Esau was born to Isaac and Rebekah, and he is described as having a reddish complexion at birth, which is reflected in his name. Esau, sometimes translated as hairy or red. The name Edom also means red, which links to either his appearance or the red lentil stew he sold his birthright for. The narrative begins in the book of Genesis, where Esau's descendants settle in the mountainous region of Seir, later called Edom. The story in Genesis 25 verses 29 to 34 recounts how Esau, exhausted and famished, sold his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of stew. Esau came back home, tired and very hungry, after a long day of hunting with no luck. He smelled something delicious and followed it to Jacob's tent. Inside, Jacob was cooking a pot of stew, and the smell made Esau's stomach growl even more. Esau walked in and said, "Jacob, please give me some of that red stew. I'm starving." Jacob looked at him and saw an opportunity. "I'll give you some, but you have to sell me your birthright," he replied. The birthright was a special honor given to the firstborn son, including leadership of the family and a larger share of the inheritance. But Esau was so hungry that he didn't care about the future. "I'm about to die from hunger. What good is a birthright to me now?" he said. With that, he swore an oath to Jacob, exchanging his birthright for a bowl of stew. Jacob served Esau the stew, and Esau ate and drank, his hunger momentarily sated. But as he left, he started to realize that he had given away something very important for just a meal. The consequences of his choice would affect him and his family for years to come. This event underscores a significant moment in their relationship and sets the stage for future conflicts between their descendants. The Edomite story is intertwined with that of Esau and the larger narrative of the Israelite people, reflecting themes of rivalry, heritage, and the complex interplay of familial and national identities. Historically, the Edomites were known for their strategic location and trade routes. They had interactions with neighboring nations and were a significant presence in the region throughout various periods of ancient history. The Edomites settled in the region of Seir, which is a mountainous area located south of the Dead Sea. This region came to be known as Edom. The territory's rugged terrain was well suited to the Edomites' way of life, which included pastoralism and trade. Throughout the Bible, the Edomites are portrayed as rivals to the Israelites. The two nations had a complex relationship characterized by both conflict and occasional alliances. For instance, during the Exodus, the Edomites refused to let the Israelites pass through their land, leading to tension between the two groups. In Numbers 20, verses 14 to 21, the Israelites, during their journey from Egypt to the Promised Land, requested passage through Edomite territory. Moses, speaking on behalf of the Israelites, appeals to the king of Edom, referring to the shared ancestry, Israel and Edom being descended from Jacob and Esau, respectively. The request is humble and respectful, emphasizing that the Israelites will not harm the land or use its resources without compensation. The Edomites, however, refuse the request outright and threaten military action if the Israelites attempt to pass through. Despite the Israelites' assurances of non-aggression and willingness to pay for any resources used, Edom maintains its stance and mobilizes a large army to enforce the decision. The Israelites, respecting Edom's decision and avoiding conflict, take a longer route around Edom's territory. In 1 Samuel 14, verse 47, King Saul's military campaigns are briefly summarized, including his actions against Edom. After Saul had assumed rule over Israel, he fought against their enemies on every side: Moab, the Ammonites, Edom, the kings of Zobah, and the Philistines. Wherever he turned, he inflicted punishment on them. This verse outlines King Saul's efforts to consolidate his rule and secure Israel's borders by engaging in military campaigns against neighboring nations. The Edomites are listed among the various enemies Saul fought against, indicating ongoing hostilities between Israel and Edom during his reign. Saul's actions against Edom and other nations were part of broader efforts to establish Israel's dominance and ensure security. The text emphasizes that Saul was successful in inflicting punishment on these adversaries, suggesting significant military victories. These early conflicts highlight the long-standing and complex relationship between Israel and Edom, marked by territorial disputes and military confrontations. The refusal of passage by Edom during the Exodus and the subsequent conflicts during Saul's reign set the stage for the continued animosity and interactions between these two nations. In 2 Samuel 8, verses 13 to 14, David gained fame by striking down 18,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. And David became famous after he returned from striking down 18,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. He put garrisons throughout Edom, and all the Edomites became subject to David. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. Thus, David achieved significant military success against the Edomites, striking down a large number of them in the Valley of Salt. This victory enhanced David's reputation and solidified his power. To maintain control over Edom, David established military garrisons throughout the region. These garrisons ensured continued dominance and suppressed any potential rebellion. As a result, the Edomites became subject to David's rule, indicating their incorporation into his expanding kingdom. The Lord raised Hadad the Edomite as an adversary against Solomon. Hadad, from Edom's royal line, had a claim to leadership and authority. His enmity towards Solomon stemmed from David's brutal military campaign against Edom, led by Joab, which lasted 6 months, and aimed to eliminate the male population. Hadad, a young boy then, escaped to Egypt with some officials, where he found favor with Pharaoh, who provided him with refuge, land, and a royal marriage. Upon hearing of David and Joab's deaths, Hadad returned to Edom, seeking to reclaim his position and restore Edom's independence, driven by revenge and nationalistic motives. Therefore, the relationship between Israel and Edom during the reigns of David and Solomon was marked by significant conflict and enduring enmity. David's military conquest of Edom brought the region under Israelite control, but the harshness of the campaign left deep scars. This animosity persisted into Solomon's reign. As exemplified by Hadad, the Edomites returned from exile and persistent opposition. Hadad's story underscores the enduring desire for autonomy and revenge among the Edomites, highlighting the complex and often hostile interactions between these neighboring nations. And that concludes today's episode. We sincerely appreciate your presence. If you enjoyed our content, please consider hitting the like button, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to our channel. Thank you for your support.